Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Cheese Room podcast. I'm here as ever, your host, the caller. And for once, it's not me who's late. It is HG. We don't know where he is, but as a bit of a welfare check, if you could all tweet him and make sure that he's alive, that would be fantastic because he's clearly forgotten that he's on a show. Maybe it's because it's his third show and he was on a pod this week as well. So it's just getting into his diary is very difficult these days. Maybe he's forgotten. However, we are here and we've got Stephen with us Stephen is an Arsenal fan. And as you can see, he's been trying to get the pod called off. Good evening, Stephen. Are you okay?
Negative.
Thanks for joining us once again. Your season's picked up a bit since last we spoke.
It has a little bit. First of all, thanks for having me back on, folks. Greatly appreciate the invite. Glad it went so well the last time. Yeah, it's been a weird couple of weeks. Well, a month or so, for the Arsenal with ups and downs. Losing to City maybe being our best result in years, and then losing to Everton 2 weeks before that. When you look at Everton's form, it's lost their two best players. Beat Arsenal, lost. And then you're like, okay, maybe they're getting a bit of form, beat Leeds, play Man City, give Man City their best game of the season, and then play a half-strength side and, have one shot on target against Nottingham Forest. And then somehow 3 days later, stop Liverpool from scoring at home for the first time in front of a crowd for 3 years. Where do you go? Are we getting there, or are we just one step forward, one step back? I think it's one of these situations where Arteta is now starting to get a bit more credit for what he's doing, but it's from the performances and it's not yet from the results. If he can turn that into a proper 3-4 month stretch, happy days. But as the news broke today, we don't even have 12 players fit yet. So God knows what we're going to do.
Come on to that, Stephen. Don't you worry. And Phil's been very observant. He's even got red walls. Disgusting.
Yes.
John, once again from the South Coast. You're starting to look like a younger version of Lockdown Dave. What's going on with the hair? Getting a bit long now, isn't it?
My barber's got COVID, so I'm just waiting for it to open her shop again.
Same.
I have to go somewhere else.
Same. This is like 6 weeks worse, and it's like it gets to there at times. It's like you're having a midlife crisis. I'm like, no, not yet. It's just my barber is COVID. But it's one of those situations where first world problem, I suppose. But
Can I just bring this up straight away, caller? I know we mentioned it last time, but he even talks as much as HG as well as looking like him. So
it's true.
Is that a compliment?
HG's doppelganger. Well, look, I'll let you decide whether it's a compliment or not, Stephen. He's obviously a well-loved member of the Cheese Room, so, by some. Anyway, let's start the show by saying thanks very much last night to Matt Hayes. Matt, if you're watching, thanks very much. We did a Cheese Room takeover on Matt's channel last night, which was great. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll try not to duplicate too much of that tonight, but we are looking ahead to the Gooners derby if they turn up, and looking back at the Chelsea fixture, which we'd rather forget. So, without further ado, let's talk about the Carabao Cup exit on Wednesday night to Chelsea. John, the starting lineup, you must have raised some eyebrows when you saw Galini in goal, and no Skip, and then Doherty at left wing back. There's certainly some strange things going on, isn't there?
It was a bit bizarre, wasn't it? I mean, we just said he's thrown it. The first thing we said, he said he doesn't think he can win. He's waiting for Arsenal on Sunday. That was what I think all of us were saying in our little chat. But yeah, I mean, why do we need to see Doherty at left wing back again when we've got Sessegnon on the bench? I know Reggie's out, but strange one for me. Very strange one.
Do you think he's making a point? I mean, at the press conference, he was asked, can you explain why you chose Galini rather than Hugo Lloris? And his response, John, was basically, I'm going to give him a chance. It's the League Cup. Is he devaluing the League Cup slightly, do you think? I mean, it was almost throwing the game with that select money.
I mean, there was rumours a couple of weeks ago that we were going to let him go back to Atalanta. We were going to cancel his loan. So whether there's part of it is that maybe Paratici's talked into giving him a couple of games with the Morecambe game and that game to have a look at him properly That's the only thing I can think of, really, unless Hugo has got an underlying issue that we don't know about, and he's just trying to manage him through for the Arsenal game. If it happens, then Leicester, then Chelsea the week after.
Yeah. I mean, the underlying issue might be his contract. Stephen, are you aware of what's your view? What's the opposition view of Hugo Lloris? Annoyingly good, or he's certainly been at the club a long time.
But he's never been bad, has he? Like he's never dropped below like top 5, top 6 in the league. Like there was maybe a 6-month period when he signed from Lyon that you were thinking, oh my god, this man's world class, and he's maybe slightly gone downhill, but at the same time, you wouldn't sell him. Like it's not one of these, like, you want him to stay, right?
Oh,
I'd imagine so. Like replacing him is going to cost 30 million easy.
Yeah.
And with Conte's reputation for wanting big names in and players bought his way, you need as much money to give to him for that. And keeping Lloris, keeping a key member of the dressing room in the team would be strong. But at the same time, it's the League Cup. Everyone has a cup goalkeeper. If you're not going to play the number 2, then why is he there? So it's one of those ones where you don't fault the way he picked it, but the timing of it is like, in a vacuum it makes sense, but at that exact moment in time when Tottenham had played so badly against Morecambe for an hour, you're like, look what happened with Liverpool and Arsenal the following night. Arsenal were awful against Forest, awful, and Arteta responds, right, bleep ye, I'm playing the full team. I can't trust the squad. I'm playing the full team. Conte didn't. Conte said, well, this doesn't mean as much to me, really. I'm just going to play the kids again. And it's like, I don't think you've read the room here, mate. Like, this is a semi-final. Your club hasn't won anything for a few years. Chelsea aren't really playing that well right now. It's only 2-0. You're at home. Give it a go for an hour. If you're 1-0 down after an hour, then, call off the troops and save a few legs for Sunday. But to just wave the white flag with the original selection just seemed a little bit off-putting.
Bit strange. And I think King Hovell's touched on it here. John, sending a message to the board is the latest lazy cliche in football. I agree with that. Conte had been given the full evaluation of the squad to Levy and Co. and told them we've got a crap squad, which is maybe a bit harsh, but we've got at least 4 decent players. But John, do you think Conte is making a point?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, I mentioned in our chat, said, do you think this is a possibility? And you all pretty much said no. But I have seen a lot of people suggesting it on social media. Obviously, Twitter is not always correct, as we know. But it's a strange one because he sat down with Paratici, he sat down with Levy. They know what his thoughts are. Now, unless they said to him, we're not signing any players, or we're not signing any decent players, but then we pretty much know he'd walk out the door. So it does seem a bit of an odd one. And
Go on, sorry.
Well, the only thing I can think is, as I said before, maybe Hugo's got a slight problem, or it's to do with the contract, like you said.
I think it's just as simple as he's going to pick Galini for the cup competitions and Lloris for the league. I think it's as simple as that, unless it's a really important cup game. I think
like a semi-final?
No, well, I mean like a Champions League or an FA Cup semi-final, yeah. Because I don't think he gets picked in the FA Cup semi-final, but the League Cup gets you back into the Conference League. So although we're desperate for silverware, for me, I'd rather we prioritise the Conference League. Obviously, we didn't over the League Cup, personally. But there you go. I think if you ask any Premier League manager, they're both B competitions, and the important ones are FA Cup, Champions League, Europa League, and Premier League. So that's my view. I'm sure you will let us know your view in the chat. Drop us a super chat, drop us a comment. Let's see what you think and what's on your mind. And if you've got any questions for Stephen, we'll get to those during the show as well. I mean, what's it like being a Gooner? Do you get up in the morning and like having a drawer of red underpants, or is it depressing? I mean, do you buy a ton of Brill cream in an attempt to look as ridiculous as Arteta? I don't know. Anyway, all of those we will address. But before we do so, Lo Celso, Winks, and Højbjerg in midfield. Unsurprisingly, no Ndombele in the squad. Conte's comments to Sky Sports about Ndombele. Steve, I'm going to ask you to try and decipher this and what it means. Because it's a very straight. I watched it at the time and I was like, what? What does that even mean? You may as well just say, I didn't play him because he was an arse against Morecambe and he's finished at the club. But what he said was, it was a technical decision, but before, to take the decision, I don't take the decision if I don't consult the club. There is the club line, and I have to follow the club line. Tell me what that means.
That is some beautiful middle management bollocks. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're in an office, and the junior administrator for office toning management comes out and says, "Right, lads, I've got a strategy." And you're like, "Oh God!" Like, that's what he's saying it in order to say it, and then he can't have it quoted back because no one remembers what he said. But yeah, you go by his actions and the fact that Ndombele wasn't anywhere to be seen in a game that he needed to win, in a game that he was playing squad members in, and he's clearly a squad member, not a starting 11 player. It's a shame because Ndombele is an incredibly talented player, but probably not for the Premier League because he just never runs. And he was the same at Lyon. And the reason why Lyon put up with him was because he would pull so many goals out of his backside that were of so much quality, you'd go, Jesus Christ, there's a player. And they just needed one team to think that they could get his attitude better and to turn him into an all-around athlete and midfielder, and Tottenham were that team. Look, we did the same with Pepe. It happens. You know, you spend money on a player and you're like, oh no, he turns up, you're like, no, he's not going to work here. And with so many different managers coming into Tottenham, he's been asked to play one system, then another, and none of them work. Like, it's all right if one manager gets him wrong, but three, then you're looking at the player and you're going, no, it's on you. Like, you're clearly willing to play one way and one way only. And that way won't work in the Premier League anymore. You know, not with the way Liverpool play and City play, where it's everyone runs around as much as possible to cover as much space as possible. You can't now have a lad who's just going to stand and do an Ozil, you know, play in a 20-yard square in front of the penalty box and just knock the ball around. That you can't carry passengers anymore. And it's a shame, but you know, it's buyer's remorse, unfortunately. It's like you've got a £60 million receipt and no one to bring it back to.
Have you got any theories as to what that actually meant, John? I mean, the people in the chat, there's a couple of people are interpreting Nick saying it means the club told him not to play him. And Shan asking the question, do you think the club have told, surely he doesn't need the club to tell him not to play him after that slow walk-off, and I'll come to that in a minute. John, tell me what you think.
So, firstly, we have to remember it is not Conte's first language, and his English is okay, but it's not as good as some other foreign managers. Yeah. But I think you're probably right. I think he probably decided he wasn't going to pick him, but the club probably said you ain't going to pick him as well at the same time. Or if he was maybe thinking I probably won't pick him, and maybe he's undecided, I think it probably has come from above. I think Levy has done this before with obviously Danny Rose, parked him with the kids, didn't he? And I wouldn't be surprised if it's come from Levy saying, "Don't pick him." After the reaction on Sunday, I don't think they could let him get near the squad again.
No, I don't think they could. And that reaction, Stephen, did you see?
Well, I did, and my immediate thought was, well, two things. One, every step he's taking is taking £1 million off his transfer value. So any idea of putting him in the shop window per se, to say, look, here's our player, would you like him, just decreases and decreases as he slowly trudges off. But in terms of getting back into the team, I mean, Granit Xhaka comes to mind. Like, he didn't trudge off. He ripped his armband off, ripped the shirt off, told the fans to fuck off, and off he went. And we were like, oh, okay, we're never going to see you again. Oh, how we were wrong. Like, if there's a way back for him, there's a way back for pretty much anyone. So you'd like to think that after this, he just gets it into his head that he needs to knuckle down and just give it his all and at least try and fit in. And then in the summer, when more clubs have a few bob, maybe get the wages off him, off the books. How much is he on a week? Is it? I'm guessing it's
£200,000 a week. Yeah.
Like never mind, getting a transfer fee. Yeah, never mind getting a transfer fee. Like, and it's the same with Arsenal. Did you see that report came out last week? Arsenal are surprised that no one's come in to buy Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Really? On his 350 grand a week? You're joking. Like, it's all right when we want to buy players, we can offer these players huge wages that they can't turn down. The problem is, if it doesn't work out, you're stuck. You know, like you're lumbered with it. And what do? Do you send them back to Lyon in the hopes that you maybe get, Guimaraes off them or Aouar off them for nothing, or as a sweetener for a deal in the future, or do you just eat the contract and pay him to go away? Like, there's no good solution unless it is him getting good, and that seems to be the outside chance right now.
Yeah. There's a couple of questions coming already for you, Stephen. So I'm gonna throw these up as we go, because the worry is I'll forget them. So I will get back onto Chelsea in a minute. I mean, I don't really want to talk about it, so I'd rather talk this. Who do you see finish higher in the league this season? An honest answer, please. I love the way Paddy's put in there an honest answer, please.
No.
You would not be honest.
But to be fair, the last time I was on here, I said Tottenham would win the Europa Conference League. Like, I'm not on here to say Tottenham are shit. Like, it's not my thing. It's not my way of operating. If Sunday's game goes ahead, it will decide a lot of things, because you're 2 points behind us and played 2 games fewer.
2 games in hand.
So, like, if it turns into 1 point ahead of us and 2 games fewer, that's a cushion. Like, as long as you're behind us, we can look at that and go, okay, we're still ahead of them. They've still got to play their games in hand, blah, blah, blah. But if we're playing catch up and play more games, it is a psychological boost to ye, a team that desperately needs one after 2 lackluster games, let's say, against Morecambe and Chelsea. If you can then beat us, it's like, okay, nervy patch might be over, but then you look at the league table like, well, hang on a minute, nervy patch, we're ahead of United, we're ahead of West Ham, we're ahead of Arsenal. That's the race for 4th. We're winning it, and we think we're playing like shit.
Yeah.
So if the game goes ahead Sunday, I genuinely think it's 50-50. If it's judged on normal parameters, it'll go ahead. If it's judged on the Liverpool parameters, it'll be postponed until we have everyone back fit and maybe buying a couple of new lads as well. Like, it's hard to say, but I genuinely think it's that tight. Like, it will come to how many games have you got left at the end of the season. Like, if you've got 10 games in May or 5. Because if you're Arsenal, no FA Cup games, no Europa League games, you might be playing Saturday, and Tottenham, if they get through the FA Cup, they might be playing Saturday, Thursday. And then Arsenal are in the box seat, because they're going to be playing their best team every week and you won't. So at the moment it's 50-50. I know that's a cop-out answer, but
yeah,
Arsenal are playing really well, but then they lose to Notts Forest, they lose to Everton, they lose the stupid games, and they've got a lot of them coming up after Tottenham. So,
all right, next question comes from Cody, a regular, and shout out to Cody, great guy. Who did Arsenal convince Willian to tear up his contract, asking for a friend?
It's one of those ones where, like, Willian got $7.5 million to sign on, and then 150 grand a week for 3 years. And he got to the club and he's like, nah. Now, and Arsenal are saying, oh, that's a great thing. Isn't that great for his professionalism? No, it's like when a lad is willing to sacrifice 10 million quid to sod off, that's not a good sign for you, the club that he is sodding off from. Like when you say, I'm not staying here, I'd rather go home. I'd rather go home and play for free than take your money. And Arsenal setting it as a good thing. It was a shambles from start to finish. It was Arsenal trying to buy a culture. David Luiz, Willian, basically bring in Chelsea. Yeah. And for 5 years.
Old-aged Chelsea.
Old-aged Chelsea. And it happened with Petr Cech. And it's like, it didn't work. Because these lads weren't the players they were 5 years ago. They weren't able to back it up with their performances. And as a result, things went, pear-shaped. David Luiz was getting sent off for no good reason. Willian turned out that yard of pace that he used to beat players for sport had gone. And he didn't fit into the way we played. And he's like, I'm not staying here. And we're like, well, do you not want your money? And he's like, nah. And we're like, okay, thanks. Sorry we're shit. Don't worry about it. Good luck. And off he went home. So, we got lucky. And now that basically we're playing a whole load of kids and the kids are going around and going, we're better than this, and are trying, is refreshing, frankly, because we've been so lackluster and so lacking in character. And that for so many years now, to see our young lads stand up to City, and even last night against Liverpool, just run their backsides off for 70 minutes with 10 men and give Liverpool one sniff at goal, like they're starting to show a character we haven't seen in years.
Well,
and
we're going to come on to that, Steve. We're going to come on to it shortly, so don't worry, you'll get to talk about the Goons a little bit more in a bit. Before we get to that, John. Chelsea game. Who? I've got a couple of questions for you. Who was at fault for the goal?
I'm going to mainly say Galini, but it's like many of our other goals recently. I'm a bit like a broken record. It's never one player. It's been a multi. Was it Højbjerg lost him at the corner? I think.
Yeah.
I had to go and pick my daughter up from guides, so that section of the game, I happened to be in the car listening to TalkSport. Ali McCoist absolutely banged on that it was Galini's fault.
Yeah.
On the radio, but when I saw it back on the replay, at no point should he have been given that free run. We have to defend better at set pieces. We keep doing this. We need to learn how to defend. And Galini made an absolute mess. Lloris would have cleared that ball, no doubt in my mind. It's unfortunate because Galini had made a good save from Lukaku just before it, hadn't he? But it was a mess. It
was a mess. Højbjerg denied a penalty just before half time, Stephen. Even I, with my rose-tinted spectacles, thought that was outside the box. And a foul, if I'm honest. I thought he tripped over.
You got the one that you would have the look, like of all the games, like never mind that you're not playing too well at the moment, but you would have the one game where VAR works.
Yeah. And it worked really well.
I mean, of all the times.
Stephen, that is the definition of Spursy right there.
I mean, the next point, Kane's offside goal. Do we need a lesson in the offside? I mean, I don't know if Brendan McGurty's watching, but he thought that was, he needed an explanation of, two people being back. I don't think we did a lesson in the offside rule, but Harry Kane should be doing better than that for me. He knows the offside rule, and he's straight well off. John, disappointing.
I said last night on Matt's show, I just couldn't understand how he got himself into that position. He can see the other players that are keeping him onside, but he just edged forward. Now, maybe Lucas should have played it first time, and he would have had basically an open goal to hit, but that's just poor from Harry. He's got to be more aware. It's not like he's an 18-year-old. It's not if Dane Scarlett got caught offside, I'd understand. But Harry is one of the best players in the world, if not in the country, in the world. I don't know. 1-0 Palace.
Yeah, just seen that. Yeah.
By
the way, Brendan is here in the chat. Bless him. Are you sure Kane knows the rules?
I don't think Kane knows anything.
True story.
Is that just Kane lacking a little bit of confidence? Like he's getting more shots under Conte than he did under Nuno. But is that just him getting an extra half a yard closer to the goal just so he's got a better chance of scoring? It just seems like one of those situations where he wants to make sure he's in the right place at the right time. He's not playing on instinct. He's trying to figure out this new way of playing. He's trying to figure out, this new 3-5-2 that was different to the old 3-5-2. Now he's playing a lot more centrally. And he's like, right, okay, I better make sure I'm in here. Yeah. And he just takes it, and it's just getting back into it. Because when he's fit, he's the best striker in the world. No arguments from me. But when is he fit? Is my question. Is he playing at 100%, or is he just playing? Is that ankle, still a bit of an issue for him? Is he still not running as much as he can? And with the offside, is he making sure that he doesn't have to run as far as he can because he knows he's lost that half yard of pace that gets him free in the first place? Yeah. Like it just looks like he's lacking in something. Maybe he just needs a goal, and it just. It all opens up again.
What's this space Sunday? Yeah, he loves a goal against your lot, doesn't he? So we shall see. Lucas' pen, was it ever a pen, John?
No, you could tell. You could tell straight away it wasn't a pen. What I would say, just going back on Stephen's point though, Kane actually picked the ball up in midfield and beat 3 or 4 challenges to get there. It was almost like Kane from 5-6 years ago, and he opened up the space himself. He just unfortunately. Overhit the pass. He could have so easily played it to Lo Celso, who was in the inside left position, basically in the position he scored against Man City 2 years ago. But he played it to Lucas, overhit it, and Lucas unfortunately just couldn't get to the ball, and it was just good goalkeeping by coming out quickly.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. It was annoyingly good. VAR decisions all correct then, Stephen. As you say, it worked really well on the night, and it never works really well normally, does it?
No, and it's not VAR. Look, it's the referees. I think we can all agree that the system in place is fine as long as the people that are using the system are competent, and they're not. Like we saw it with Stuart Atwell against City for Arsenal, where it's like Rodri commits 4 fantastic fouls on the halfway line to stop and tack. Don't do it again. Don't do it again. Don't do it again. Don't do it again. Fair enough. No bother. Gabriel does it once. Yellow. Oh, it's your second yellow, is it? You're off.
Yeah.
And ruins the game. And I hesitate to use the phrase ruins the game because that puts a lot of the onus on the referee. But at that moment, he had stopped the game of the season because he wanted to make a point against the wrong team. You know, it was a shame. But that's unfortunately the standard of refereeing in this country right now, where when you see a well-reffed game, it's like, that was well-reffed. You know, everything went according to plan there. We have no complaints. When's the last time you said that?
Well,
you know,
before you became Irish, HG, last week, you did touch on the fact that the Euros, VAR was used almost perfectly, wasn't it? In the last World Cup, it seems to be Britain that has this problem of referees just being completely incompetent.
Yeah, and then it becomes a case of, well, the referee knows he's got VAR to almost correct him, so he won't give a decision because he knows VAR is there to basically cover up for a mistake for his. Like the Villa goal, the goal that they scored against Manchester United is a prime example, where the referee blew for something. God knows what. I don't know what. Nobody knows what. And VAR didn't know what because they spent 3.5 minutes looking for it. And then found Cavani smashing into one of the Villa defenders. It's like, oh, it must be that, Phoebe. There it is. Yeah, he's that. Yeah, that's a foul. That's obstruction. Still 1-0 United. You know, but then you have the opposite problem of when a referee doesn't give it, then VAR has a look at it, and VAR's immediate thought is the lad at VAR goes, well, if he didn't give it, I probably shouldn't give it either, because I don't want to make him look like an idiot. And now you've just compounded the problem. So what do? Do you do it American style where you have one office, like one league head office, and it's televised, and every decision goes there? And it's like, okay, we're going to go to insert competent ref here. He's going to be mic'd up. We're going to have a look at it. Takes 2 minutes. We don't think we've anything that disagrees with the referee here, so it goes on. You know, umpire's call it. Yeah. And then go from there. And just broadcast it. Get all the information out. Because by hiding it, you're giving the idea that you want something to hide.
I'd prefer that. I just think there needs to be a bit more transparency. You know, like in rugby, where you can hear the decision-making process. Yeah. At the moment, it's just like the blind leading the blind, and we don't know what's going on. And especially when you're in the stadium, you haven't got a clue what's going on. You know.
Yeah, but the police. The thing about that though is that's not the referees. The referees want it to be broadcast to the stadium. The police don't.
No.
And because the police think you're going to incite a riot.
Yeah.
And look, we saw what was it, the Met Police. One of the lads from the Met Police went on morning show in London last week. You know, the Chelsea. Yeah, wasn't the Chelsea Liverpool game? Wasn't it the first safe standing game for like 30 or 20 years in London? Yeah. And one of the lads of the Met Police comes out and he says, "Well, we shouldn't really be allowed this because it's easier to do cocaine when you're standing up." And he's like, "You mug. You absolute mug." He said that it's easier to drink, it's easier to do cocaine, it's easier to roam around stadiums when you're standing up as opposed to sitting down. I wish I was kidding.
Yeah.
It was BBC. It was either BBC or ITV, but it was on morning show, and they said, "You must think this is great."
I heard it. Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah. Absolute nonsense. Like it's that caveman identity that's still in some parts of the police, where it's like, you grow up, lads. Like most of us are not hooligans. Even the young lads these days are too busy filming it, and they're not going to throw the €700 iPhone that they bought. Even against us, Man City, what do people throw? It's toilet roll.
Yeah.
It's attitudes have to change throughout football, and referees not wanting to talk to anyone that's below them is one of them. Police not wanting to trust a man with a bottle of beer is another one. Yeah. Once we get into the 21st century, we might be doing a little bit better. Until then, we're fucked.
Well, talking of fucked, Thomas Tuchel was livid at the press conference with his team's performance. Are there any positives you think we can take out of that game, John? Or was it just that Chelsea stopped playing second half?
I think there's a little bit of that. That's why he was so angry. But we did, we had a 20-minute spell where what do we have? 3 times we had really good openings, and they cocked up the last ball. Winks, Kane was on the inside right channel, and Winks decided to kick it about 500 yards ahead of him. Harry, as I said, with the chance with Lucas for the penalty, and Emerson, shock horror, man, got in a really good position and managed to make a mess of the cross again. We could have scored. Aside of the VAR issues, there was chances, and that is the only positive I can really think of, to be honest. Yeah. Other than we know that Doherty should not be on the pitch and Galini should not be on the pitch.
Sticking with you, John. There was only 45,000 at the ground, despite the cheap ticket prices. What was it, 20 quid or something to get in? And only 40,000 for Morecambe on Sunday, which I suppose is a little bit more understandable given it's a League One side. Why do we think that is? I mean, West Ham had just under 60,000 for Norwich, which I'm guessing in the run sheet you're comparing to Morecambe, maybe a bit harsh, but yeah, are people staying away? Too poor attendances on the bounce. Is it just that it's cup games, it's extra games, people ain't going to come, or is there something there to be worried about? I also hear that the beer prices and the food prices are going to go up by a small amount this weekend if the game goes ahead.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Read your email. Yep.
Oh, I don't read the Spurs email.
You know when you get the
I'm not going.
That gives you your season ticket though, aren't you?
No.
Oh, you not got a season ticket? I thought you did. Anyway, well, when you get the pre-match email,
right? Okay.
It says on, these are the rules. No constant standing unless you're in safe standing. Blah 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 blah. You get out to the bottom in the small print. It's that the pies and the beers are going up because we've had some cost inflationary rises. Yeah. So therefore, they're going to be reflected in our pricing, which was sort of buried in the small print because no one really reads that, do they? Apart from me. So is this whole part of, I suppose the price, is the ticket, the lack of people there, apathy with Spurs right now, the board not getting it? What's going on?
I think pre-Christmas, obviously, our gates were, were a little bit down. And I think there was an element of people staying away because of COVID, because they wanted to see their family for Christmas. But after Christmas, obviously, the Morecambe game was never going to be a sellout, was it? I think they originally didn't open the top tier, and they did end up selling a few blocks in the top tier. And it was an all right atmosphere, wasn't it? I think really Morecambe made it more so. I guess they brought 2,500, whereas if we played maybe a slightly bigger club, they'd have probably brought the full 6, which would have helped the game. A few years ago, I went to Spurs against Wimbledon at Wembley, and we had 47,000 there, and there was a good 6,000-7,000 Wimbledon fans for that game. As far as the Chelsea game, had it been 0-0 or 1-0, I think there's a fair chance we would have got probably close to a sellout. I think a lot of people were resigned that we wouldn't claw that back. They're on a different planet to us, aren't they, really, at the moment? Had we actually signed some players in the first couple of days of January to make us a bit better, we might have seen a bigger crowd.
Yeah.
So it doesn't always pay to wait till the end, Mr. Levy.
No, not at all. Not at all. And from an outsider's perspective of the Chelsea game, Stephen, what would your summary be?
That as soon as the Chelsea scored the third, it was game over. Both of you knew it. You did have chances, and then Chelsea scored a rather lucky goal, let's be fair. And then that was it. It was like you'd already set up where we're not going to score 3. And then it was like, well, we're definitely not going to score 4. Fuck this. So, yeah, it was a shame. As for fans staying away, it is just after Christmas. God, like I said, 20 quid. Like, when 20 quid is a cheap ticket. It's all right if I'm going by myself, but if I bring in the missus, maybe the kid, maybe 2, and I'm driving up and back, there's 150 quid gone. Dinner, tickets are expensive as it is, and you don't blame people, especially for picking and choosing. If you got a season ticket, fine, but when it's open sale and you're asking people to fork out quite a significant amount of money for a team that's losing already, it's a hard sell. It's a very, very hard sell. Even Arsenal, the next Thursday, if the game goes ahead against Liverpool, Arsenal are doing buy when you buy beer at the ground, it's buy one get one free.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they're like, if you're coming, please come here. Now, again, the beer's grand. The food is extortionately priced. It's insane. Chips and a sausage is like £11. They just like, you want Gordon Ramsay to come out and serve it himself, but you go upstairs. Like I said, yourselves, like you've done the same thing. There's a Michelin star restaurant in the stands. Like it's, like that. That's how you're spending 60 million on a striker. Like it's just what it is. But yeah, after Christmas, couple of weeks, do you blame families, especially for keeping their hands in their pockets?
No, not really. No, not at all. Okay, let's talk North London derby. So the team news is that apparently Tottenham have appealed to the FA to get Xhaka's red card rescinded, so he can actually play rather than use a talented youngster against us on Sunday. The number of available Arsenal players is falling faster than Prince Andrew's titles. Could the game be called off, Stephen?
50-50. It's, again, if it's decided on normal parameters, then you could argue that Arsenal have just about enough to play it. Now, there are a number of reasons why Arsenal don't have enough players to play it. Number one, it's themselves.
This is absolutely the order of the day. So I'm going to let you talk about this while I go for and top up my beer, because a lot of people are asking, why on earth are Arsenal such a bunch of shysters that they're trying to call off a game for which they've got one COVID case and the cancellation is there. The policy around COVID is that if you can't complete, get 30, I think it's 13 players, but that's due to COVID. There's nothing to do with the fact that you've got players at the African Cup of Nations. That's nothing to do with the fact that you've got injuries. And pre-COVID, you would have had to play this game, right?
Yep.
So I suppose that my question to you and John to have a little tete-a-tete about while I top up my beverage is, why do you think that's okay, if you do? And what do you think the likelihood of this is going ahead?
I'll go first. Is it okay? No. What this is, it's like when you play a board game or a game of cards with like 5 or 6 people, and one lad knows the rules better than anyone, and he does something in the game that is completely out of order. Like, it's like, no, you can't do that. No, and he said, excuse me, I think you'll find that Rule 17, Article C, says that permits me to make this move at the adjacent case on this board. Thank you very much, and plays it anyway and says nothing to everyone around there. So, are Arsenal breaking the spirit of the rule? Yes. Are they doing it as bad as Liverpool? No. Is the rule fucked? Yes. And that's the problem. The rule was supposed to be written for COVID, but it's not. It says COVID and injuries and other absences. So what Arsenal are doing is they're going, okay, well, we've got one COVID absence, we've got a lot of injuries, and we've got 4 lads at the AFCON. Now, the first question is, why did you loan out Ainsley Maitland-Niles to Roma, and why did you loan out Florian Balogun to Middlesbrough if you were short of numbers, ye gobshites? No good answer for it. 2, like everyone says, they've 1 lad on COVID. What Arsenal will say is that, hang on a minute, we had 9 lads with COVID at the start of the season, and none of you did anything. We had to play Brentford with 13 players. We had to play Chelsea with 14 players. And everyone said we looked tired, we looked rubbish, we looked shit. And it's like, yeah, we had COVID. We were riddled with it. And there's almost a sense at Arsenal anyway that we're almost owed one for that. That Arsenal-Brentford was the first game of the season and we were railroaded into it because they didn't want the show to stop. Again, does that matter to ye? No, of course, and it shouldn't. But when Liverpool come out and close the training ground and say we've got 25 positives, and then the day after, it's like, oh no, it's not 25, it's 1. And then you're like, hang on a minute, there is more chance the caller has gone to dress up in a dress and give me a lap dance than there is for 24 false positives. Yeah, exactly. Perfect timing, by the way. Like, they have completely run ramshot through this rule, and now Arsenal looking at the rule and hang on a minute, we've only got 12 lads. The rule says we have to have 14. We've only got 12. Can we have the game called off again? Completely against the spirit of the rule. Leeds, we played Leeds a month ago. Leeds had 11 fit players. If you looked at their bench, it was like a countdown puzzle. It was like 5 numbers from the top and 1 from the bottom. Like, it was 67, 83, 92, and they played. And then they changed the law. Then they said, well, it can be COVID and injuries because Newcastle are affected, Leeds are affected. And now Arsenal are kind of, sort of, maybe affected. And it's 50-50. So, yeah, it's one of those ones where if it was the other way around, we'd be calling ye shysters. and you'd be saying, "No, we can't play the game. We've only got 12 lads."
I think you covered most things I was going to say. If I'm honest, I don't really blame Arsenal for doing it. It's the rules that are stupid. Ultimately,
yes.
If Stephen says, if we were in the same position, we'd probably be doing the same thing, trying to get out.
And you'd be right.
Yes, he is.
And
yeah, it's frustrating. But the weirdest thing for me, Stephen, is Arsenal under 23s have played tonight. Why was that game not cancelled?
Yes, that's the thing.
For me.
If a club has 40 players, why did 17 of them play tonight? Do we want these young players to play or not? Does the Premier League want to see Arsenal's under 19s against Tottenham? And by letting the under 23s, I should say, by letting them play tonight, the answer is clearly no. They don't want to devalue the product, because if Arsenal send out a scratch team, Sky Sports will go to Tottenham and they'll go to the Premier League. No, we didn't pay for this shit. We didn't pay for a team of scrubs versus Tottenham. We paid for Arsenal versus Tottenham. Can we have our money back? And then you get into breach of contract and etc. etc. So where do you go? It's complicated and it's tricky, and Arsenal are basically not trying to pull a fast one, but again, they're trying to use a law to their own benefit that they shouldn't really be doing, yet everyone understands why they're doing it.
Joining us, obviously she'd seen enough. She couldn't take any more. I can't hear her. Sharon, are you there?
Can you not hear me?
Oh,
Not
just
very
about.
well.
It's very low.
Very low, which is unlike you, to be honest. So, I'll give you my view while we're waiting, which I think I think if the Premier League okay this, which I think they will okay the postponement, if I'm being really honest. I think it's a disgrace. Tweeted about it earlier, I think. But it's not just Arsenal that have done this. Other teams have done it as well and been allowed to get away with it. And the Premier League have probably allowed way too much already. And I think that is the issue, to be honest. I think the Premier League, they sought to sort the rules out in December and sort of said less postponements, but they're still allowing it. And I just think it's too easy at the moment for teams. It's not Spurs' fault that you've got a load of African nations players. And like I said, pre-COVID, this would have got ahead.
Yeah.
This would have got ahead.
Yep.
Sky will absolutely want this game to go ahead because it's their big game on Sunday, and there's no easy switch for them. So I think there will be immense pressure if Sky apply pressure from the TV companies to get this on. But who knows? We shall see. Shan, can we hear you now?
Can you hear me now?
I think you should speak up and you'll be fine, yeah.
Right, 1 second.
No, that didn't work.
Gone completely now. The jack has just come out, I think.
Yeah, and she's paused. No, she's stuck.
Oh,
she is.
Oh.
No.
I'm trying to work out if she's moving or not.
Oh, there she is, yeah. Oh,
there she's gone. She's gone.
She's gone.
She's gone.
Anyway, I've gone for the lone wolf now.
Oh, wow.
Talking about all this Chelsea.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's a good one.
50 minutes he lasted in the presence of an Arsenal fan before you had to resort to the liquor.
I had liquor. I decided to start off with. I just moved
Oh,
on to
then.
the heavy stuff now.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good point. Leicester asked for their game to be postponed, and then they went to the darts.
Well,
yeah, that should be a 3-match ban. Instantly.
I tweeted about their game being cancelled last weekend, and I had loads of Leicester fans having a go at me saying none of the ones that went to the darts have got COVID. Apparently, only 2 of their players got COVID. They're all injured or out of the vaccinations.
Not the point at all.
No, don't go to the darts. You are paid hundreds of thousands of pounds to be COVID secure at the moment. And look, it's unfair on you, a professional footballer, that you are deprived of a social life right now.
Yes,
However, you are being compensated for your loss. You are being compensated very, very well. And look, even we're hearing today that Aubameyang, before he went to Cameroon for the African Cup of Nations, went to Dubai, met with a whole load of mates, got COVID. Couldn't play in the first game for Gabon. Gabon wanted to play the second game. He turns up negative. Chest scan comes. They think he's got heart lesions. What do you do? So we're seeing that COVID has Alphonso Davies today has myocarditis, or however you pronounce it. He's out for 6 weeks. We're seeing that athletes especially are more prone to long-term COVID. than other players just because of how much pressure they put on their lungs and their breathing system as a whole, and their cardiovascular system as a whole, that they are more prone to little, after effects after COVID. So we're like, yeah, we need you to stay at home or at least take all the necessary precautions. If you live with a family and the kids go to school, God knows you're probably going to get it anyway. But you can't go out. You especially can't go to the alley pally. Like, like people spitting, drinking, getting locked everywhere. Like you can't do that. Like a little bit of common sense, much, just a little. And
I agree. Totally agree. Shan, can we hear you?
I think so.
Yay!
I just have to hold this thing to my mouth, so it's quite distracting.
That's all right. Tell us what's your view on this. I know you want to share it.
Are we talking about Arsenal trying to wimp out of a North London derby? Is that what we're talking about?
Wimp is a very weak word. I prefer weasel.
Yeah,
that's a good word.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm more pissed off because it's my first North London derby in a stadium. So it's getting me in the feels right now. Like I've been looking forward to this game all week. Even
that's nothing, Shan. It's my birthday game. And
even when I watched, I had to sit and watch us get battered by Chelsea, and I was still looking forward to it. Twice, yeah.
Twice.
I've actually sat and watched us lose 3-0 to Chelsea twice, but what can you do, eh? I just think it's ridiculous. I think, like everyone said, if this is allowed, it sets a precedent, and I think Leeds would have cause to complain. They were made to play Arsenal. Yeah. Obviously,
they changed it after that. Like I said, when Leeds had 11 players and 9 children, it was the Prince Andrew special. It was like, oh, happy days, and suddenly it's everyone was like, Leeds can't play on through that. That's absurd. Like that's just not fair. And they're like, they can't get the proper medical clearance. They can't get the proper physios in because they have to be COVID certain. And it's like that's unfair on Leeds. So we'll change it. But in doing so, they opened themselves up to abuse of the law. And this wouldn't be the precedent. Like the precedent's been set by Leicester and Manchester United, and then Liverpool with the League Cup. Like that, they're the egregious ones. Ours is on. If Liverpool is a 10, this is a 6 or a 7. We should be playing the game, but the law says we don't have to. So it's unfair. But it's one of those ones. Do you blame clubs for finding any reason not to play when they can't put out the first team? And the answer to that will always be no, and it'll always be shitty.
To be fair, though, we've got injuries and we've got a COVID case, but we're not trying to get the game called off. We're in the same situation, maybe not as severe, but we've got half our first team out.
We've got several first teamers out. Well, here's the question, and I want to just shout out Jamie Weir, friend of the pod, quite often on the show. Sky Sports tweeted today, conundrum for Arsenal. They're potentially one injury away from being able to ask for Sunday's North London derby to be postponed, despite just having one COVID case. But confidence is high, and it could be a very good time to play Spurs, who are on a poor run and with key injuries of their own. What to do? Stephen, do you want the game to go ahead? Because you played us at a good time, surely.
That's the thing. Like it's the problem is that if it does go ahead, it'll be the same team that played against Liverpool.
And Steve, sorry, can I just add? This is a 6-pointer because
this is.
I mean, it's a massive game. I mean, it is a massive game for us and you. I mean, you need to win it with the games we've got in hand. Yeah. If we win it, we're in a really good position. So sorry.
And no, like it's a case of Arsenal would get players. Like let's say this game is in 3 weeks' time. Just off the top of my head, it's it's either an FA Cup weekend where we're out and there's a replay in year 3. Son's back, right?
Yep.
Anyone you buy in the January transfer window can play that game, right?
Romero.
Like it's not a case of it's not like I'm not saying that Tottenham should want this game postponed, but it would benefit Spurs too. And the idea, yes, Arsenal would get fit, but look, Xhaka is a 2-game ban. Like, if this game
You want him to play, Steve.
if this game gets postponed, Xhaka will be playing in the derby. So, like, pick your poison here. Like, yes, Arsenal are going in really good form, but they're knackered. They're like, it's the same team that's going to play that just played with 10 men for 70 minutes. It'll be that team, except take out Lokonga and put in a 17-year-old who looks like a chipstick. Like, there's no muscle on him at all, and you put him against Højbjerg and Skip. Like, no thanks.
He hasn't got to worry about Højbjerg at the minute. Let's be honest.
Would he not put Ben White in midfield? Because
that's the theory. But he's just had his best game for Arsenal at centre back on Thursday. Like,
it's nice to know he's had a good game for Arsenal.
He's done. The longer he's gone on at Arsenal, the better he's got. Now, is he worth 50 million? Not yet, but he's closer to what he was than the last time we were talking.
To be fair, he's probably closer to 50 million than Ndombele, so I'm not going to take the piss too much.
That's fair. But you're right. Like, would Arsenal, if Arsenal had 14 players and it's the same team that played against Liverpool, yeah, I think they would. But at the same time, you want to try and maximize the things in your favor. Like, it's. But again, like I said, is Saka injured? I can see this. He basically threw up about 20 minutes before the game. They think he's got a stomach bug. Cedric pulled something in his hip, like basically taking a throw 30 seconds into the game, which is peak Cedric. And the fact that Tierney played 90 minutes for the first time in 3 months, and he was doing it running around trying to catch Jota. Like, that's not the way you get fit. It's a tricky one. Like I said, in an ideal situation, no, you don't want to play it, but you might have to. And if you have to, then you go grand. But at the same time, you do exhaust every possibility you can not to. And unfortunately, one of them might work.
Okay.
I think Reguilon might still be injured as well. And then that means you get to see Doherty at left wing back again.
No, you won't. Sessegnon will play.
Yeah. Not much better, is it?
Sessegnon's played well. I've been pleased with Sessegnon. I want to see more of Sessegnon. I think he's going to be good.
Just from the outside, what happened to Ryan Sessegnon? Like, he pissed the championship 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Injuries and confidence. I think if he scores a goal, we will see a different player. He's a massive confidence player.
He's got to have a run in the team, hasn't he? I mean, there you go. There's the likely Spurs team: Lloris, Reguilon. I'm not sure Reguilon's available, but it'd be Sessegnon if not. Davis, Sanchez, Tanganga. Yeah, because I think Dyer's still out, isn't he?
How close is Romero though?
Not close enough. He's trained once
today, so he's not going to be match fit. If Bergwijn's been training all week and isn't match fit,
Romero might get on the bench. He might get half an hour out of it, but I don't think you're going to get more than that. Emerson on the right, then Højbjerg and Skip, Hill, Kane and Mora. So it's not. I mean, I'm not saying that Adrian's got that completely bob on, but I think that'd be pretty close. And it's not anywhere near our strongest lineup as well. No. So you are right. If we do reach a postponement, which I'll be very unhappy with because it's my birthday game, I'll be very disappointed.
Mine too. That's the problem. It's mine, but it's Sunday at 4:30. I'm sure I'm live on air between 2 and 6 on Sunday.
So I'm going to be there. I'm actually going to sit in my season ticket seat rather than the exec box. So I'll be really happy. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
That's a first world problem we ever heard one. But
I think we'll play three in the middle.
Yeah, I agree. I probably agree with that as well. Right, let's look at past glories. Glory. Favorite Spurs versus Arsenal moment at Tottenham or Wembley. We'll get yours out of the way first, Stephen. What was it?
Well, I mean,
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, well, it's Robbie Keane's penalty in the last minute in 2004.
When Lehman punched him in the head.
Yes, and then he scored, and then the whole stadium erupted because yes, you're not going to win the league. You already drew, and you realised how many people had watched Newcastle beat Chelsea at 12:30. Yeah. And then it's like everyone, and then the Arsenal fans are also celebrating, and everyone looks around. Why are you celebrating? And then they did the math, and it's like, oh, and the famous Thierry Henry walking up to a Spurs player, go, why, that he actually pulled a muscle in his leg, jumping up and down. He had to go off with cramp, and Thierry Henry's going, "Why are you doing? You're celebrating a draw. Like, what the fuck?" And then off they went. So it has to be that.
That was the level, Stephen.
Yes,
that was the level we were at though at the time.
Yeah. But favorite goal would have been Liam Brady in 71, was it? 8. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. The one where the outside the foot bent it in, but. Even today, that's goal of the year. Like another stupid player.
Adrian's got my favourite memory.
Yeah.
Semi-final, Gaza free kick, top corner.
Two keepers lost that.
He is, I say, what a goal. A reason I fell in love with Spurs. Shan was just not even in existence at that point.
I was a sperm.
You were a sperm, yeah.
And by the way, Stephen, Shan's dad is a gooner.
It's even more disappointing, really.
How did he let that happen?
My whole existence in life is just to irritate my dad. So
there you go. That explains it. Shan, your favourite moment?
It's the Harry Kane mask.
We only got a draw that day either.
Yeah, there's a common theme here.
But the Danny Rose screamer from 30 yards. That was good. pretty.
The one with Miguel Almunia decided the gravity just didn't work and he just fell like this, and the ball just sails into the centre of the net. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, it's the quality of the goal, and then the celebration afterwards with the mask, and it was when we were good.
It was when we were good. We did only draw that game, but
it was still when we were good.
Yeah. Okay. Happy memories, John.
Okay, so favourite
game. John's like 60 odd. He just looks 30. So he can remember everything. He can probably remember the 61 team.
It's because Dave's not here. I'll get you all the old abuse. I've only been to one North London derby, weirdly, and that was the 5-1 in the league. And although Arsenal did play a few not first-team players, it was still a pretty strong team, and they brought Fabregas and Adebayor on, and that was a great. I was actually a bit ill. I wasn't feeling very well. We stood the whole game, and it was such a good atmosphere. But earlier I tweeted a goal that I can't remember the game because it's a bit early for me. I think Davo was actually there. Was in 1983. We got our own back for the 5-0, and we beat Arsenal 5-0. I think it was Easter Monday, 1983. Mark Falco scored a right-footed volley from the edge of the box. It is an astonishing goal. I've tweeted it. Go to my Twitter handle. Have a look. It's the third tweet down. He was left-footed. This right-footed volley is just astonishing how good it is. Arsenal had a few injuries. They had a guy called George Woodengall who was as bad as Bobby Mims, for those who remember him, or as bad as maybe Galini. But yeah, that's a goal I've picked up today, and say the 5-1 is my favourite game.
I've got to say, there's 148 people watching and only 50 likes. So please, it costs you nothing. It takes 2 seconds. Please drop a like on the video. It really helps us out. If you could do that, that would be wonderful. Let's talk about players. Who was better, Arsenal versus Spurs? So let us know your thoughts on this in the chat. Tony Adams or Gary Mabbott? I can't ask you that one, Shan, because you weren't alive. Stephen, your view first, and then I'll come to you, John.
We talking pre or post the 3 months of porridge?
I think the whole career.
Yeah,
it's because Adams is two completely different players. Imagine it. Imagine today if a England captain did 3 months of Bird, come back, standing ovation, wins the league. It'd be insane, and it completely changed his game from a hard tackler to a almost continental style centre defender, where he just walked up the midfield with the ball. Mabbott was all effort, all 100%. Oh look, there's a ball, smack. It didn't matter where it was, who had it, wherever. It was all effort. I think Adams, towards the end of his career, just enabled that little bit extra bit of class that just let him almost read a game, so that when he had Martin Keown beside him, he just literally stood there and said, look, you run there, I'm having a fag, I'm not going to gamble anymore, even though I know Paul Merson is backed on the 320th captain, and we'll be fine. You know, and it was just the ease in which he played in, especially the last 4 or 5 years in his career. He sauntered around the pitch. He was an unbelievable defender, and just played 2 different styles of play: the George Graham way and then the Arsene Wenger way, and win titles with both. Probably puts him ahead for me.
Okay, John.
So this is for you, Shan. Mabbott, who you got to meet, didn't you, in the Tunnel Club, as I did recently with Steve?
I met Mabbott, yeah. He's propping up the
I
bar
met
when I
Mabbott.
met him.
He joined us from Bristol Rovers. That's what we used to do. We used to buy players like him from Bristol Rovers or Graham Roberts from Weymouth and things like that. He scored twice on his debut as a midfielder. He was a bit of a sort of an all-round midfielder. He was known as a utility man, really, which is probably why he didn't get more England caps, because he didn't have a real assigned position. But he played up front. There's games on YouTube where he scored 2 goals up front, including a volley from the edge of the box. And he eventually got moved to centre-back by David Pleat in the 86-87 season. I'm feeling a bit dizzy, Shan. Goodness.
Yeah.
And he was such a good defender. He was such a good reader of the game. But I can take it with that. Adams was such a good player. And he really bought into the Arsene Wenger. I think Arsene Wenger saved Tony Adams' career.
Easily. He saved his life. Like that, there's no 2 ways about it. The amount of drinking that man was doing.
Yeah.
The Tuesday Club is infamous and famous for equal reasons. Like
if I'm 100% honest, the biggest mistake Gary Mabbott made was in 1987. He could have gone to Liverpool, but he thought Spurs were improving. But we sold Glenn Hoddle, and then David Pleat got sacked, and the team went down for a while. And he should have gone to Liverpool when John Barnes and Peter Beardsley were signed, because he'd have had championships galore.
Yeah, easily.
He was a class player, 2-footed, still scored goals from centre back. I remember a couple of games a game against Notts County I went to, where he scored in the last minute, a volley from the edge of the box. He was all heart, as they called him, but probably because of all the titles and cups, you have to say Adams, unfortunately.
Yeah, you have to say Adams, but I've got to say Mabbott was a personal hero. When we won the cup in '91, he lifted it. I was so happy. I think Mabbott. I think Daniel Harrison's nailed it. Mabbott was a wonderful human, and Adams is probably a better player. I think Mabbott's probably a better person, but Adams is a slightly better player. I've got to say, having said all of that, Mabbott was class. He like you say, John, he could play in a multitude of different positions, 2-footed very much so. Inspiration to anyone with diabetes. Played his whole career with it and played through that when players didn't play through that. There weren't the treatments available that there are now. And he's just an absolute legend of a guy. He's just such a nice person, and still is. A club ambassador of Spurs. Obviously, Shan's met him. I mean, have you got any stories to tell about Gary Mabbott? Shan, was he nice to you in the Tunnel Club? I know you won't remember him or probably Tony Adams much, but what's your thoughts?
Yeah, no, the one thing that stood out to me was just how much of a lovely guy he was. Like, he took his time, you had a proper conversation. We were talking about the rat incident with his foot in South Africa.
Yeah.
And he was talking to me and Steve for a good 10-15 minutes, and nothing was like, I didn't even have to ask. He got out one of his cards and he signed it. And he was just an all-round top guy, really. Obviously, I never got to see him play because I was a sperm, but
a spur of a sperm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll come to the last one. There's 2 more of these, so stay with us if you're watching. We'll try and be a bit quicker on the next one. Glenn Hoddle or Dennis Bergkamp? That is difficult. John, you first this time.
Do you want me to keep it short? I'll go Hoddle.
I want you. Well, short, but you can have a sentence. How's about that?
Bergkamp.
You can have a sentence each.
Bergkamp, absolute class player, different level. Glenn Hoddle was unlucky. He was born in the wrong era. If he was playing now, he'd be a £150 million player. He was just amazing. Unfortunately, he's number 10, and we didn't play number 10s in this country back then. But I would say Hoddle just beats it. 2-footed. The passes he could play were just astronomical. But let me take that away from Bergkamp. He was amazing, and I'm gutted he never came to Spurs, and he went because he was a Spurs fan as a kid, wasn't he? Because he loved Hoddle.
Yeah. My view on Bergkamp and Hoddle, they're 2 unbelievable players. Unbelievable. Hoddle better, technically better, and just a wonderful career for England, Spurs, and beyond. Stephen,
I won't say a bad word against Glenn Hoddle. Like he's obviously I'll say Bergkamp because I think Bergkamp's the best player ever to play for Arsenal, ever. Like the man won goal of the month by himself. All three, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. The things he was able to do throughout his career, whether it was for Inter Milan, the goal for Holland, like Hoddle, obviously for Marseille especially, like even he talks about playing for Wenger at Monaco as well. Like Hoddle was able to, and still is in a way, was able to do things that no footballer at the time could do. It's just that Bergkamp was 10 years ahead of him. And football had evolved, and football had figured out a way to play someone like that as a number 10. And even Inter Milan, when they bought him from Ajax, tried to play him as a number 9, and it didn't work. And then he comes to Arsenal, and again, Henry will take all the accolades because of Vavoom and the goals he scored, but Dennis Bergkamp's best player I've ever seen play for Arsenal, and I won't see a better player. If I do, I'll be fucking thrilled. But no, it's one of those ones where it's like, can you blame a Tottenham fan for liking Glenn Hoddle? No, man was insane. I mean, half the reason why he lost the England job was because he was trying to teach David Beckham the Cruyff turn. Like he saw players with technical ability and went, okay, well, you can do this, and Beckham couldn't. And Hoddle's like, well, why can't you do it? I can do it. And like, yeah, you're Glenn fucking Hoddle. You can do anything, mate. Of course, these fans can't follow you. And he never got. It's a bit like Roy Keane. He could never get it in his head why people weren't as good as him.
Yeah, he still can't.
He still can't. Like Roy Keane thinks of himself as an average man. You're Ireland's probably, or at least now, like Ireland's second or third best ever sportsman. You were the greatest ever sportsman at the time. You were best player in the world for 6 months. He's like, yeah, I don't do anything. I was like, have you seen yourself? Like, it's just that myopia, that inability to see everyone else and go, right.
Stephen, you've got a wonderful Irish accent. Can you just do a Roy Keane Pogba?
Pogba? No.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Cork accent is very hard. I used to work down in Kerry, so I can do a Kerry accent now down to a T. But no, Cork is a little bit more high range for me. I'm barely getting the Midlands accent. Yeah. Pogba. Yeah, like he's very. Roy Keane, when he doesn't want to talk, is one of the worst people ever to talk in your life. Roy Keane, when he's in a mood, when he's in a bit of a mood, have a bit of crack, is the best thing on TV.
There you go. What part of Ireland are you from?
I live in Portlaoise. The answer to everyone's question, where was I born? Edgware. as you can guess by the accent. I lived in Queensbury till I was 7. So I am a London boy, technically. And yeah, moved over here because the Owlad was born about 10 miles from here, in a small town called Timahoe. And yeah, so I've been in Portlaoise for 31 years. And yeah, I live here and people call me an English bastard, and I go over to London and I'm a plastic paddy. I can't win.
Brilliant. Right, this is one for you, Shan. Do you remember Robert Pires?
Yeah.
Dodgy little beard thing. Right, him or Sonny?
Sonny.
You have to define why, okay?
Because Sonny is just, now he's one of the best left-sided players in the league, if not the world. Sonny's an absolute animal. And he's just such a lot. Sonny's my favourite player ever to play for Spurs. He overtook Gareth Bale. And Gareth Bale to me was God. So that's my explanation. It's Sonny all day for me.
Sonny was a better player than Bale.
No, I mean as in like my personal favourite.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's a very different type of player to Bale.
Yeah.
So probably almost.
Bale's a better player, but Bale did it more consistently. But yeah, I take your point. Okay, you answer the question, Shan. That's fine.
Sonny's more likeable. He's never let me down. Bale has. So
yeah, Bale saw Madrid signs and was off. Sonny, for some bizarre reason, signed a new contract this summer when we were at our lowest. So there you go. John, Your view on this, Sonny or Perez?
My issue with Sonny is his inconsistency. He goes through peaks and troughs, doesn't he? He can be absolute hot for 10, 12 games, and then we can sort of lose him for a little while. Perez I hated him because he just used to score against us all the time. It was so frustrating. Technically, very good player. We were heavily linked with him for a long time, and like many other players, they went and signed for Arsenal, which was so frustrating. It's a really tough one to call. I think I'll probably have to go for Sonny just because he's Spurs on this one, and I'm sure Stephen will go for Perez without, I don't blame him.
I'll go for the 2002 Player of the Year. Perez won that award, and he collected it in a knee brace, and he did his knee in February, and he still won it. He was, again, he doesn't get the credit he deserves because he was in a team. Like, when you think of like the 2014 best player in it, Henry, second best, Bergkamp, third best, Patrick Vieira, fourth best, Ashley Cole, best left back in the world, fifth best, Sol Campbell. So
whoa, don't mention him.
Whoa, too fast.
I
was letting you get away with that until
I sincerely apologize for swearing on the show. I will mind my fucking language in future. But if Robert Perez is the sixth best player on your team, Jesus fucking Christ! If there's one goal, watch his goal against Villa, where he lobs the centre back, and then Schmeichel comes out and he just dinks the ball over him too without breaking stride. And Andy Gray, the sexist pig, just stands up and applauds. And this is his commentary is this, just clapping, and it's. Perez just was better over a longer period of time. Like, Son needs to win something first before we put him in the conversation with someone who won as much as Perez did.
Sonny won the Asian Games. And the World Cup.
Sonny won exemption from military service, which was very important to us.
That's what mattered.
I tell you what, that absolutely did matter. Right, let's move on. Who was worse? I'm only going to go for one of these because time is against us. Right, John, I get the feeling. Shan, you can take part in this and pass it round. I'll be right back. Carl Jenkinson or Serge Aurier, John? Who is worse?
Oh, I mean, all I ever used to see Carl Jenkinson was sat on the bench. And he looked a little bit like Oliver Giroud, so it confused me a little bit a couple of times. And he had a very big bouffant hair. I can't really remember him playing that much. Did they sign him from Charlton?
Like £2 million quid. Yeah, to be a backup right back.
I mean, Serge was an absolute liability, but we could really do with him crossing the ball at the moment. He wasn't even the best crosser, but we are really struggling for our wing backs. I think probably Jenkinson was just about worse. Yeah. Steve?
It's one of those ones where it's like, I knew Jenkinson wasn't very good, but he was trying. Like, he's a gooner. he was raised in a bedroom that's got more red in it than mine. Like, which is maybe hard to believe, but it's true. Aurier, the ball would arrive at his feet, and anything could happen. He could beat three lads off the dribble. He could shoot someone. It's anything. Like, you ruled out nothing. He could do anything and everything and nothing all at once. And it's one of those ones. Do you rate consistent fours or the occasional 10 and 3 zeros? Like, it's it's. Did Perez ever win Nation Player of the Year 6 times in a row? Fair. That's why we bought the likes. That's why we bought the likes of Junichi Inamoto to sell shirts. But yeah, like, it's like Jenkinson scored once, and it was the greatest thing that happened to Arsenal in about 3 years, because he celebrated and he ran straight into the away end at Norwich, and everyone hugged him because he was one of us. He was a bang average lad that had no sense of uppishness in him. He wasn't, he didn't have he wasn't up himself. He was just a normal lad, and he knew he wasn't good enough, but he tried. And then he scores one goal, and he's like, "Oh my God, I've lived my dream. I've scored for Arsenal." And 2,500 lads who were desperate to be in his position for one game knew exactly how he felt. So for that, Aurier, but yeah, was Jenkins very good? No.
I've got a special
you
question for Shan. I thought I'd make it more relevant for her.
I don't know who Carl Jenkinson is.
I thought that might be the case, so I'm going to help you out. Nicolas Pepe for 72 million, or Tanguy Ndombele for 62 million. Who is the worst signing?
It's Ndombele, surely.
I don't know.
I don't know about that.
Pepe does nothing, and he gets sent off quite a lot. So at least with Ndombele, discipline. I mean, he eats a lot, but discipline on the pitch isn't a problem. Discipline off it may be a bit different, but it's like chalk and cheese, isn't it? They're both shocking signings for very different reasons.
I mean, there's cost involved there. There's an extra 10 million, really, for
I think
Pepe.
for that, 72 million for Pepe is probably just about. I think Pepe is probably just about worse, but there's not a lot in it.
I doubt Pepe's on 200k though, is he? So
close.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah. See, we brought in Barcelona's ex-director of football and expected him to spend money prudently. I think you can see where the problem is with that one. It's not so much chalk and cheese. It's which testicle do you like getting kicked in the most? Like neither of them are good options. It's like Pepe.
That's the point, Steve.
Yeah, which. The thing about Pepe is that yes, it's 16 million a year for 5 years, but like. The gas thing is that Unai Emery wanted Wilfried Zaha for 60. So it's not like we went out of our way to buy the lad that the manager wanted. We went out of our way to buy the lad that the manager didn't want, and probably still dodged a bullet in spending 60 for Zaha. So no matter what we were doing with that money, it would have been just like lighting it on fire, because that's exactly what we did. Getting anything back for Pepe will be interesting. Whether he goes, this summer coming, or because he's got no future at the club, no long-term future at the club. Saka has right wing nailed down there for a decade, hopefully. It's one of those ones where, thanks, you tried. Unlucky.
Yeah. So who are you saying, Stephen? Who's worse, Ndombele or Pepe?
Pepe. The thing about I think Ndombele can be salvaged. I do. I it's one of those ones where he's going to turn up at Sevilla in a year and a half, and he's going to be absolutely pissing the Spanish league, and you're going to be going, for God's sake, this is annoying. Like that's his future, and maybe Pepe too, where just a mid-table club is going to do what Real Betis did with Fekir. Yeah. When Liverpool wanted to buy him for 60 million, he fails the medical. Real Betis get him for 10, and now look at him. Like he might be one of those players that just you get him in an environment, plenty of food, Sevilla would be perfect, frankly. But you get him in the right place, you build a team around him, you limit the amount that he has to do defensively, and suddenly he's a monster again. Like it's a shame that it won't work at Spurs, but unfortunately, you could see when they bought him, you could see why it wouldn't, and those people were right.
Okay, well, we move on from this to predictions, and then we've got loads of other topics to get through. All Spurs related, I'm afraid, Stephen, but we'd love you to hang around. John, your prediction for the North London derby, if it goes ahead?
I was going to say postponed, probably.
Yeah, but, PP.
2-1 Spurs.
Chan?
3-0 Spurs.
Oh, the burn. That's just for your dad, isn't it? And Stephen?
0-0.
0-0.
Another real...
That's never going to happen in a North London derby, is it? I think it's only ever happened once, isn't it?
Yeah, which is why I back at it. The gambler's fallacy, where it's like, it's never happened before. It's bound to happen now. But
I'm going to say 2-1 Spurs, and King Hoddle agrees with me by the look of it. Yeah, 2-1. Let us know your prediction. Drop in a super chat if you feel the need to show your support for the Cheese Room. Let us know what you think. Hotspur, Sam, 3-0 to Arsenal.
That is quality jinxing. Quality jinxing.
3-1 Spurs. We only like positive Spurs predictions. This is a positive cheese room podcast. The Ledley King mural.
John,
John.
are you okay?
What's he doing there?
My bottle of cider, I put it in the freezer and it's a bit overly frozen, so I've got a slush. So I'm having to sort of.
Oh wow!
It didn't
it's
look
quite
right
good.
from where I was sitting.
Actually, that looks perfect. I'll take that.
Yeah,
I'd
nice
absolutely take that.
Just needs an umbrella.
Yeah, it just needs an umbrella maybe and a little cherry. The Ledley King mural looks amazing on the
Yeah.
highlights. What's your view on that, John?
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. I think the Trust have done a really good job. I think they've led on that and the club have worked with them. The biggest problem is trying to find sites. Hopefully now they've got the first one up, they'll be able to get some other sites. And I know the council apparently have been very helpful.
Yeah.
So I think it's nice. Obviously, we'd still like a couple of statues of Mr. Greaves and co. But it's a good start, I have to say.
Can I just ask, the Winksy one or the Winky one that I saw was definitely Photoshop, or CGI, wasn't it? It wasn't real.
I haven't seen that.
The Winksy one. Oh yeah. I think Shan tweeted it actually. So did you tweet it?
No, it wasn't me, but don't slander Harry Winks. He's the sweetest, cutest, most
Oh,
lovely
shut up!
ever. Honestly.
He's the most incompetent midfielder ever. That would have
No,
sufficed.
he's not. He's not the most incompetent midfielder.
No,
ever.
he's not. No, he's not. Like you can't say that after last night.
He's up there.
He beat Harry Winks to that title.
We should have done Xhaka v Winks, shouldn't we? Oh, next
Xhaka
season.
v Winks. I'd take
Yeah.
Xhaka. Stephen, have you got anything similar to the mural that's gone up to Ledley? To any?
Well, we've got behind Thierry Henry statue. We've got like a huge stand of like every player that's ever played for Arsenal, which is grand. Me and statues, I'm really old fashioned on this. I don't think you should get a statue until at least 15, 20 years after you've retired, at least. Like Henry having a statue at Arsenal and then coming back to Arsenal and scoring was small town as fuck. Like it's like Arsenal, like when Arsenal have a statue of Thierry Henry and not one of Rocky Rocastle. Like there's if you want statues of your favorite players or the best players ever played club, fine. But Arsenal has 110 years of history. You start from there. You start from the start, and then you go forward. Yes, it doesn't matter. It's the history. But if Tottenham are going to go down the same route, like if Greaves does get a statue, and we all know he deserves one, and Bill Richardson's getting one first. It's you got to recognize history. You got to say, look, we're putting up the most spectacular figures in our club's history. Starts here, and then you go on. And you do it every couple of years, every few years to grab, but don't prioritize the present just because you remember it and your season ticket holders remember it and they want to reminisce. You're a big club, act like it. Be someone that says, no. Yes, we've got a fantastic player in Thierry Henry, might be the best ever. He can wait for his because Ian Wright doesn't have one, and Liam Brady doesn't have one, and Ted Drake doesn't have one, and etc., etc., etc. And we might get round to giving them one, but there's a list. And if you want to know that list, well, we've got a museum down underneath the armory. On you go. That's how you should treat history, as if it's special, not as if you're just handing them out like prizes.
My favourite mural is the one of Tanguy on Seven Sisters Road of the snail.
The snail.
The snail, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Beautiful.
I mean, apparently the good news is we've made no transfer signings yet, but we've got a new cinema and 72 houses on the way. What do you think of that, Shan? Shan, are you with us?
She'd rather
Right.
not answer.
Are you hyperventilating, Shan?
I've defended Levy to my own detriment many of times, especially on Twitter. But the bloke is some will say he's been indefensible for years, and I get it. They're entitled to that opinion. But if we don't do anything this window, but we're upping the prices of the food and drink in the stadium, we're buying we're doing houses, we're building a cinema. and he doesn't sign a fucking player in this window, he's indefensible then.
What I would say to all of this, Shan, is that design, that the wish that was there for this housing and cinema that's in the plans for the stadium. It's a long-term thing. I mean, the timing maybe on the announcement is a touch unfortunate, but it was absolutely always in the plan.
This is the things that the club are really, really crap at. Get the January transfer window out of the way and then make your announcement in February. Don't do it in the middle of a window where your manager's calling you out in the press because basically the squad ain't good enough. We know we need to basically sign 6-7 new players to try and improve our squad to compete.
But you're not going to do that in January, are you? Come on.
Well, no, but you make a start. You make a start in January. We need at least 1 or 2 in this window.
Look, 156 people watching, only 77 likes. Come on, let's smash that like button. 50% of you, by my maths, is correct. Over 50% haven't hit the like button. Please do. It helps us out. It costs you nothing. It takes a second. Please hit that like button.
155 of them giving out to me because I called Bill Nicholson Bill Richardson. My bad. Yeah, but my bad. I get that confused when I talk about statues. I got confused with Jerry Richardson. Any of you follow NFL?
No.
Right, but the Carolina Panthers.
You are the Gooner Irish HG because he
Jerry Richardson was the owner of the Carolina Panthers, and he decided that the best thing outside the stadium should be a statue of himself. So that was there, and as soon as Carolina was sold, it was actually in the contract that the statue still had to be outside the stadium.
Okay. I just want to respond to this, Chris. There's a lot of misinformation out there on Twitter. We at the Cheese Room like to set the record straight, whether that's it, just the truth is good. So 23 homes are designated as affordable housing, 7 are low-cost rent, and 16 intermediate rent. There'll be 13 3-bedroom units and 1 4-bedroom home, with 1 and 2-bedroom flats making up the rest of the complex. So there are social housing, affordable housing, if you like, in that complex. I think that the timing of this announcement, the timing of it, is what sucks. I just can't understand. They don't help themselves with the PR. I mean, surely we need to make a statement in the window. 4th is ours for the taking. We beat Arsenal. We turn them over this Sunday, for example, at our place, which I think is quite likely. Stephen may disagree, but I think it is possible. We're very good at home. We're in the box seat for 4th. 2 games in hand. 2 games in hand on the Gooners. Better than West Ham. West Ham won't be
3
there.
3 games in hand on West Ham.
And this is it. Shan. It's so frustrating.
But this is the thing with Levy, right? We're in a good position to get Champions League, which is the thing that matters most to him of anything in the world. Levy wants Champions League football because his commercial deals will be better. We'll get naming rights for the stadium. He can make more money, etc., etc. Sign a couple of players that are going to help you along the way. You've got more chance. We need
to be fair. The fact of the matter is, Shan, we don't know where we're at. I mean, this is where I will stick up for the club. I think there's about 3 teams that have done business in this transfer window so far. Yeah, there is a long way to go in the window.
There is. We're halfway through the window now. Pretty much. Tomorrow we're halfway through the window.
But equally, you know that most teams don't operate until the last third of the window, last quarter of the window, the last 1/8 of the window.
This is where everyone gets so frustrated with Spurs because they always leave their business till the last minute.
But it's not just Spurs.
But
everyone does it.
It's constant. It's every single window, and a lot of teams, especially in the summer, will get their business done earlier than Spurs tend to. And January was such a big month for us with big games. Chelsea 3 times this month, Arsenal at home. We've got Leicester as well. And you'd think, look at the fixtures, look at the injuries piling up, get a couple in, get the business done, start the talks in December. Like it's just the same. It's the same thing every single time. And I can understand. We haven't even seen any solid concrete links with anyone. Traore, that's not going to happen.
Why is that not going to happen?
Bruno Lage turned around and said he's staying. He don't want
Well, he
him to
would
go.
do, wouldn't he? That's exactly. Oh, what's going on here?
That's all part of the negotiation, Chan. The same way that Conte said that Bergwijn's training because Ajax don't want to give us the money we want for Bergwijn. But we all know he's going and Traore is going to come and replace him effectively. That's what's going to happen
But
in the end.
it's still the thing. We had a big January. We need reinforcements. Just get it done. Like, stop faffing about.
Absolutely. I agree. We need to get things done early, and we're not. And it's dragging again, unfortunately.
And then this is where the fans get. This is where the fans get restless, and you get all of the toxicity, and you're going to see protests outside the stadium on Sunday again because we're leaving it late. No one has any trust that Levy's going to do what he's ultimately said he was going to do. He said, "Oh, I've taken my eye off the ball. Things are going to get better." We got Conte. Oh, maybe we might do the right thing. Well, we're halfway through the window and there's no sign of us doing the right thing. And we need at least 2 players in to help us out because we're on a downward trajectory with the players we've got out at the minute. We've got no sign.
We're not, Shan. We're not.
But we are, Caller. What have you seen in the last month that gives us any sort of hope that we're capable of being up there with the big boys?
The league table.
Well, the league table, yeah, exactly right, Sean. Exactly right. Reality. So we would. The reality.
Our games at home against lesser opposition. Let's be honest. And then when we've come up against decent teams, we've been battered.
No, we haven't.
We
haven't been battered. We got
beat against Chelsea. In the stadium and watched us get battered by Manchester United, by Chelsea.
Under Nuno.
But we still got battered.
Under Nuno.
And we got battered against Chelsea under Conte. We've literally just been battered by Chelsea.
What team
we weren't battered by them in the week.
We weren't battered at all by them.
Last week we were battered by them.
Last week we were, yes.
I think it's reactionary.
We've literally just been battered by Chelsea.
We had Galini in goal. What do you expect?
We were battered by Chelsea.
We had no Dyer, no Romero, no Son. You can't
last week when Son played, we were battered by Chelsea.
We didn't play well.
World-class striker that's not scoring goals. Sonny not in form. Our best centre backs out. It's not good for Spurs at the minute. I think we're
it's great
with an element of delusion.
No, it's not delusion. It's the league table.
It's
the league table, Shan. It's the league table.
Yes, and then our two best centre backs are out. Our only
but they're on the verge of coming back, aren't they?
Crosses out.
But our 2 best centre backs are coming back within the next 2 weeks.
But they've been out, and we've not done anything about it. We've been without Eric Dyer and Romero.
What do you want us to do about it? What do you want us to do about it?
Sign a centre back.
That's not going to happen.
Early.
Not going to happen.
We've been without Romero how long?
Look at Newcastle.
Acted early. Who's acted early in this window?
Newcastle.
Yeah, and they're awash with cash.
And Newcastle are fighting to stay in the league. We want to get into that top 4. Top 4 should be as important to us as staying in the league as for Newcastle, and we should be fighting to do that. And we're not doing it.
Right, but Newcastle have more money than anyone else can even think of, and they've just spent 25 million actual pounds on Chris Wood.
Chris Wood.
Yeah, that's insane.
But that's the
point. That's the
point. They have all the money and they can afford anyone, and they've given it to Chris Wood. Right?
Get someone in on loan, get someone in to help us out. We've got our midfield is barely there. We've got a defence that's made of flipping patches. Half our front line, we've got Harry Kane, who's not in form in any stretch. Our best attacker, our highest goal scorer, is out injured. We don't know how long Son's going to be out. We don't know the severity of that injury.
The best centre back you can get on loan right now might be Phil Jones.
God, no.
But that's my point. But that's my point. Twanzebe just went to Napoli for like £1 million on loan. United, we don't want you playing for Villa anymore. You're too good. Napoli took him. It's unfortunately the idea of yes, Tottenham should be in for these players, but these players aren't available. Look at Vlahovic, the next great young thing. His agent wants 8 million just up front, just to even start negotiations. Never mind getting his young lad to sign on the contract. It's 8 million just to say, "Hi, my name's Tim." The money involved these days, like Pogba is clearly leaving United. Raiola wants £30 million. Like these negotiations are going to be taking months, and unfortunately for a club like Tottenham, when they were planning for January in summer, they would have been planning with Nuno. So all those plans are now shot. Like you can't bring in the players that he wanted for Conte. So now Conte and Paratici will be lining up players for the summer.
Conte would have known what we needed before he even signed the contract.
Who do you want, Shan? At centre back, who do you want right now? Who's available?
Off the top of my head right now, like I can't even.
I'll tell you, there is literally no decent. The only players you get in January are players
ones
that
we
the
don't
club don't want. Yeah, players that want to get out because they're desperate, like Chris Wood, because a great offers come in for him. You know, he can make.
Well, that's
a fortune.
not true, is it? Because Luca Digne's gone to Villa.
Luca Digne, Everton didn't want him.
Luca
Everton
Digne
didn't
would
want it
walk
because of
into
his
our squad.
attitude. He didn't
He'd
want
walk
it because
into
of
our
his attitude.
squad.
No,
He'd walk
the
into
trouble-
our 11. He would.
The trouble
Luca
is,
Digne would
Shan.
walk into our 11.
Trouble is, Shan, left back isn't a priority.
It's not a
I know
problem.
we've played Doherty there. We've got
You got
Reggie
regular
Miller,
Doherty at
Sessegnon.
left back.
and we got Sessegnon.
Sorry,
And we got
but-
Sessegnon. We've got 2 left wing backs, but one's injured currently. We've got other positions that are far more important. If we go and spend 30 million or whatever they want for Digne, then we can't spend that 30 million somewhere else, and we have to prioritise. Unfortunately, we can't replace every single position. Yes, Digne would be a good acquisition.
Potentially, but
I've not
potentially
said we need to replace every position. I've said that we needed to strengthen we needed a striker and a centre back in this window.
We need a creative midfielder as well, and a right wing back.
Do we really think we're going to go to the summer without Harry Kane getting injured? Because it's going to happen.
I know we need a striker.
I think we will sign a striker. I'd be amazed. I'd be surprised if we don't. The window's a long way. There's 3 teams that have signed anyone. Digne wasn't wanted by Everton, and ultimately Villa are happy to spunk the money around. In reality, he's not really that proven. He was okay at Everton, and then he had a terrible attitude and fell out with the manager. He's not the kind of person you want around the squad. He's an Aurier, if you like. He's not. I mean, everyone's using it as a great example of Villa doing business. Villa have bought him, who was unwanted by Everton, has got an attitude problem. Coutinho hasn't done it for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
and was possibly the biggest waste of money by Barcelona ever.
Coutinho I never wanted anyway. But you talk about
And
Aurier. I'd rather have Aurier at right wing back than Matt Doherty. Like, come on.
But Doherty was really good for Wolves at right wing back for 2 years. Like getting him at 10 million, everyone was like, "Oh, that's not bad." Like, he was seen as a good squad option, and then suddenly he's now playing left wing back. Like,
I think the reality is we are looking for a right wing back.
Aurier, and then Aurier still was our first choice right back last season. But yeah, Doherty stayed, Aurier went, and I know it was the whole contract thing, but
it's formations as well, isn't it?
We might as well have just let him play for the season.
Doherty's never played as a right wing back, has he? That's the for us. That's part of the issue.
He's still been crap.
He hasn't played there much. He hasn't played there much at all.
Not much, but he's played enough this season to see that he's still shit.
Yeah.
Let's not be around the bush.
No, it's consistency. He's been as consistent as Calder's camera.
I think, Shan, what's happened to you? Almost as grumpy as HG was the other night.
She is grumpy.
I'm just fed up with this team. Just literally, we moan about Ndombele, but we're just slow to do anything, and it's so frustrating. I can understand it.
I do agree. We are very bad. Our recruitment has been horrendous.
Get some pre-contracts done for the summer. Like, just do something so we've got something to look forward to, knowing that this farce isn't going to continue for much longer. But you've got a visibly irritable Conte in press conferences, and if we don't do what we need to do, I'm still hopeful that we will. Do I believe we're going to do it? Probably not. I'm hopeful we will, but
I think a big problem is you'll have the agents will be playing the likes of Paratici and his counterparts, other clubs, off against each other, trying to get better deals, and that's one of the problems. And a lot of it will come down to the last few days where there are still clubs that will be in financial difficulties because of COVID that need to sell. and they're going to try and squeeze as much money out of each club. It's going to be a lot of loans, I think, ultimately. There won't be many big signings. There'll be a lot of loans going on.
January's a shit time of year to do business. Anyone who thinks it's otherwise is deluded.
Yeah.
You're not going to sign great players in January. It happens when you spend 75 million on Virgil. It happens when you spend
players to help you get over the line.
You can, and I expect we will sign 2 or 3 players. I don't disbelieve that for a second. Hardly anyone's done any business so far. It's always lastminute.com in Jan.
Yeah.
Unless you're paying £75 million for Virgil van Dijk, and we haven't got £75 million to spend.
But even that transfer was screwed up by Liverpool twice.
Absolutely.
You know, they'd agreed for 45 a year and a half ago, and they got done for tapping up. Then a year later went back, oh, sorry about that, here's 60. And it's like, why is Jurgen Klopp at a FaceTime to Virgil van Dijk? Oh, you're tapping up again. And then there was this whole apology. Liverpool was like, oh, we're never gonna be in contact with Virgil van Dijk ever again. We're really sorry. And then 6 months later, they pay 75, which was hilarious. But you could end up in a situation like us with Alexis Sanchez. Year left on his deal. The 31st of August, City rock up, here's 60 million. And we're like, but it's no good to us now. Like, can't buy anyone in. It's the last day of the window. City, you're like, well, fuck you, so. January comes round. We swap deal for Mkhitaryan. And then big panic, but we got to replace him. We spent 60 million on Aubameyang 6 months after spending 52 million on Lacazette. You make very stupid decisions under very pressure times when you're forced into position by agents and by contracts that you don't want to sign. And that's the problem Tottenham need to get themselves out of now and make sure that the people that stay. Because as much people are talking about the people that are there, if Lloris goes, that's another 30, 40 million going to spend on a goalkeeper. And if you don't win anything this year and not finish top 4, Harry Kane will walk.
Lloris is another thing. He wants to sign another contract. It's still not done. He could have be having pre-contract talks with Nice or anything now.
Yeah.
Why not have those talks and get it done before the window opens? It's little things like that.
You don't know they haven't.
You don't know they haven't. They've still not done anything, have they?
How do you know?
Not signed. It's still not because it.
Well, it might not be done over the line. But
don't be so naive. If they'd agreed a contract, it would have been announced by now.
There's definitely a contract
signing up their players on extension.
But it's not that simple. It's not that simple.
But it is.
It's not.
Agree a deal. Agree the wages. It is. It's as simple as that. Why are we?
But it's not because what about what Hugo wants? What about what Hugo wants, Shan?
Give Hugo what he wants. I'm not being funny. If he left,
what if he wants to leave the club? What if he wants to leave the club? What then?
But he doesn't, does he? He said he doesn't want to leave because he said he doesn't want to leave.
Never said that. He's never said that.
Oh, Calder, come on. Look at all the news articles that have come out. Hugo wants to sign a new deal. Conte, Hugo loves the club. He wants to sign a new deal. Give him what he wants then to sign that deal. I'm sure if we gave him a good enough offer, he wouldn't go.
How much is that?
How much? So supposing he wants 300,000 a week.
I'm sorry, but Hugo is as important to this club right now as Kane and Son are.
I'm not disagreeing. I love Hugo. I want him to sign a new contract.
Then give him what he wants. We're not going to get another goalkeeper that's as quality as he is.
I don't suppose he won't sign a new deal. I think he will sign a new deal. I think the overreaction is ridiculous.
It's what Salah's banking on at Liverpool, by the way. Exactly this, where he wants Liverpool fans to freak out and say, "Oh my God, we can't lose him. Oh, we can't. You have to pay for him. You have to pay for him." He goes, "Yeah, well, I want to be paid like the best player in the world. I want $500,000 a week." And Liverpool goes, "We're not giving you that. If we give you 500, we'll have to give Virgil van Dijk 400. We'll have to give Trent 200 and odd. We'll have to give Jota, Firmino, Mane. We'll have to give all of them pay rises as well because if he's on 500 and Van Dijk's on 200, Van Dijk's going to be going up to the door and going, "Excuse me, I'm next." And then you've doubled your payroll. If Lloris is on 300 grand a week, you could be. Doesn't matter how long ago his son signed his contract. He's going into that office and going, "Excuse me, I'm better than him. Why aren't I being paid that?" And now you've got problems. I
don't know because Sonny hasn't done that even with Ndombele.
He should.
He should, but that's not what Sonny is about. Luckily for us, but this isn't the thing. My problem isn't so much that we haven't signed players right now. It's that there's nothing to suggest that we will. It's that previous evidence suggests that we won't. And it's that the club are released or leaking stories. They haven't released it, but they've obviously leaked it somewhere, that they're fucking buying a house, like land for houses and a cinema. When
It's
we've got
literally the last thing you want to hear. Yeah.
It's management from the club. Oh, we're putting our prices up. Oh, you can pay ridiculous money to come and watch your team week in, week out. Spend more money in the stadium, and they're going to buy houses and a cinema with that.
That's already on the plan, isn't it? It's nothing
It's
to do
on the
with
plan,
that.
but you still need to have a team. There's no football. There's no houses without a football club, and if the football club ain't doing well, it's less money. If he wants to earn more money for all his extracurricular property portfolios, then
the property portfolio would happen with whether Spurs are in the Champions League or not. It's designated, isn't it? It's forget that. It's nonsense. It's badly timed nonsense, is what I would say. Like, it's irrelevant to the football club. Completely irrelevant. No one wants us.
Bad PR from the club again, and that's why a large majority of fans are just fed up with him at the minute.
Yeah. I don't think anyone is very happy with the fact that we haven't signed anyone yet. Let's be honest. We'd all like to be signing players. We'd all like to be spunking money around like Newcastle are. I'm sure Arsenal fans want to be spunking money around like Newcastle.
Hey, you heard those songs a few years ago where it was spend some fucking money. You know, like we got, and why? Because we were the same thing. We like 2012, 2013. We were hearing that our property portfolio had all sold out, all for profit. Happily, social housing wasn't a thing. We were selling apartments, paid off for the stadium just about. It's like, well, who have we bought? Petrocek. Great. Anyone else? No. What do you mean no? What do you mean no? We're shit. And it's like, yeah, but, you know, we got to pay off the mortgage. We're shit. Yeah, but we worry about the financial stability of the club. We're shit. Like, and you hear us? We're shit. You know, like, Shan's worried. Shan is looking at the team right now and she's going, we need help here. Like, and what are we doing? And all she's hearing is cinemas and houses.
I think there's a lot of fear that Conte's going to walk. I mean, people are talking about Conte's language in press conferences and body language and that. I mean, I call bullshit.
That is narrative. That is narrative driven.
I don't think he'll walk in January, but I think he'd walk in the summer if he weren't getting what he needs.
The summer is ultimately where we're going to do business. We're not going to do business in January. We're never going to be going to do business in January. And anyone who thinks we're going to sign anyone who thinks we're going to put Vlahovic over the line in January is fucking deluded.
Frankly, without Biggie.
Frankly, stupid.
Yes.
We need to go and take some tranquilizers or something, because we are not going to sign £75 million strikers in January. It's just not going to happen.
The fact that we might, like, we're going, really? Like, we need centre midfielders. You know, like, we could do with someone to replace Xhaka, and they're like, no, we need a number 9. And we're like, okay, well, how much are you spending? Oh, we're going to spend 80 million quid on a striker. And then our PTSD kicks in with Pepe and et cetera, et cetera. And we're like, okay. So, you know, yeah, that's temperature high. Yeah. It's one.
By the way, sorry, Sam, I said it wasn't announced by the club. It must have been leaked by the club because it's all over the news. That's what I said. So
I think this is on Twitter. I think people have picked this up. Just the Twitter spreading has happened. I think the club wouldn't have necessarily wanted to share it.
Alistair Gold wouldn't have written a story about it if the club hadn't given him the say so. We know that he's. Let's be honest. Ali Gold wouldn't have written about it.
He's a mouthpiece for the club. You're right. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, if the club wanted to say this is nonsense, why we're not doing this? This is absolute garbage. They could easily kill the story like that. Exactly. Silence is golden. Silence is golden. Like, it's like I say, it's not leaked by the club. But it's not leaked by the club. Like, it's like I work for a radio station. I work in a newsroom. Half the time is not what you're told. It's what you're not told. When someone tells you off the record, don't listen to him. What they're not saying is don't listen to him. They're saying listen to the other lad. Like, you do have to work out these things. So when it says Tottenham are going to do this, if you don't hear within 48 hours that Tottenham coming out and saying this is block, we do something as idiotic as this. This is booking bullshit. If you don't hear that, then they're doing it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's, you know, like, it doesn't have to be leaked by the club. It just has to be literally lad comes in, overhears a phone call in the club by accident, and suddenly it's out. And the council said, well, we didn't interview anyone. You know, it's how journalism works. You know, it's sneaky and it's shady and it's look. You only have to look at what's happening in Downing Street. They pissed off one lad, and suddenly there's parties every week that were being leaked. Like, yeah, how'd that take 18 months to get out? Yeah, it's just the way journalism works.
Yeah. Okay. As the caller's not here, I'll continue. Oh, looks like he's coming back. Hopefully. Shan, so they've announced today Saracens v Bristol rugby will be played at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Is this a good thing, or is it another thing to people to bash our owners about?
Bash, bash, bash.
I think it's both. It's a good thing because it brings money into the club ultimately, but it's only a good if the club spend that money in the right way. And if
Stephen,
not, then rightly they get bashed.
Yeah, Stephen, what's your view from the outside? Spurs putting on concerts and rugby, NFL. What do you think? Is it a good thing for the club?
It's a fantastic thing for the club. They've got one of the best stadiums in the world. Use it. Like, that's the whole point of it. The whole point of having a second surface underneath the grass is so that you don't fuck up the grass. You know, you pull that off. There'll be an NFL state. There'll be an English. There'll be an NFL team in that stadium in 5 years. Probably Jacksonville. Now, Jacksonville are shite, but it'll be Jacksonville. You know, they're hopeless. They can't build a team. The fans don't give a shit. They'll make them the London Jaguars or something ridiculous like that. But you've built the stadium for that. You've built it so that pitch rolls out, AstroTurf comes in, rugby union will be played in the AstroTurf. Saracens home games are always on AstroTurf. Not a bother. Happy days. Like, that's why you spent 1.2 billion on it, for it to be a multi-purpose stadium. So any chance you get to use it, use it. You know, City is still Manchester City is still a council park. Like, they can't do a damn thing with it. You get in middle of June, you can walk your dog on it if you want. It's fantastic. You know, so like, you know, while you've got the facilities, do as much as you want with them, because like Sean said, it's more of that. It's any extra revenue to pay for another agent's fee, you do it.
I mean,
will the rugby ruin the pitch? No, the pitch is underneath it.
Yeah,
they literally wheel out
the
grass
They
pitch.
use the NFL pitch, won't they?
And it's AstroTurf. So Saracens always play on AstroTurf. So yeah, it's no bother. You can, like, now it rips the knees out of you if you're not careful, if you don't wear tights. But yeah, no, the Tottenham built that in mind. You know, it's ridiculous.
100%. I mean, the thinking is years ahead. The question in all of these things is, will the revenue be reinvested back into the team? That's what everyone wants.
Yeah,
that's what Shan's very grumpy tonight, but that's what she wants. I think the reality of it is time will tell with it. Everyone wants instant investment, instant success, but we haven't. I mean, the revenue doesn't flow through for like a year, 2 years before you're going to see any real difference, any real tangible difference. That Spurs have got to continue to grow to be this self-sustaining club that the owners envisage. Whether you agree with that or not, that's the way it is. Like,
it's not just about the money though, caller, is it? It's about the shit we sign with the money we spend.
Well, absolutely. The players we've signed with the money, as we were talking about earlier on in the show, have been pretty inept. It's all right having money. We've spent as much as anyone outside of City and Chelsea in the league in the last couple of seasons, but we've bought crap players.
Yeah,
that's the problem. That's the problem. And that's what Paddy hits the nail on the head. No problem with anything being held at the stadium. The issue is where the money goes, and ultimately we want it to go back into the team.
Which is exactly what I said. And if not, then bash.
But you're going to take 2 years to see that come through, because COVID has clouded everything. If it was as simple as there was no COVID and no increased costs for that year, then you could see it. But right now,
I don't know, caller. We apparently had 90 million in the summer to sign Lautaro Martinez. So where's that 90 million?
Allegedly. I'm not sure that's true, to be honest. I think that would be speculate. I think that would be, if Kane went, that's where the money would come.
That's where the 90 million is. Yeah,
that's where your 90 million quid is. Yeah, and this is right. The summer window will reveal all. I've never expected us to spend much money in January. I expect us to plug gaps, sign a striker on loan that's going to get us through to the end of the season if Kane gets injured. And listen to Conte, and his targets will be gone after at the end of the season. But Paratici is just bringing in his whole scouting network, and trying to sign the players that fit the bill. I think it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while, and we're in a great position. No one should be dumb enough to not realise we are in a really strong position this season. We've got to capitalise on it, and I hope we sign a couple of players in January to do that. But to expect the board,
even just a couple of loans,
I think they will. I think they will, Shan. I don't get the fear. I don't get the fear.
Even if it's
I
like
really
a striker
don't.
that's not playing, or like a Jesse Lingard loan at the end of the season, like loan until the end of the
We
season.
won't get Jesse Lingard.
No, but
Because
something like that.
United won't give him to you.
Someone that's sitting on a bench.
Yeah.
That could just a striker, like come and play. Like they're going to get game time. Kane can't keep playing all these games. He's going to get injured.
Well, I think the irony is Kane will play all the games here on out because you've got FA Cup and League, and that's it.
Not if he's injured, he won't. And we know that Kane always has an injury every season.
Didn't last year, to be fair. He was only out for, I think, that's not a lot of time. Not
2 weeks but 2 weeks without Kane with no Son.
When those two hit together, it's very unlikely, but it's not great either.
It happened, didn't it, under Conte in the Champions League, and that's why we ended up crashing out because we had no one up front.
I'm agreeing with you. I want us to sign a striker. That's for me. That's the priority position. We go after a striker, and we
get Vinicius back on loan. That'll solve all our problems.
I don't think we want him, and we definitely don't want this, James Defoe for 6 months. No, he's like nearly in a wheelchair. You may as well get Henry back in the game if you're going to get Defoe. Can
I comment on that? And that's Stephen. That's my son, Stephen, who's just commented there. The reason Caller says he's almost in a wheelchair is because he's the same age as Caller.
Absolutely. But one of us aged better than the other. One of us is a multi-millionaire. One of us isn't. So can you guess which one? The Brighton game, FA Cup, 8 p.m. which on a Saturday, which is a bit of a strange time. Would you be going to that, Shan?
Probably not.
You've had enough of cup games this season, right?
I can't take it anymore. No, in all seriousness, knowing me, I'll probably say I'm not going, and then a couple of days before the game, I'll be like,
day, a dramatic reveal.
Get serious FOMO, and I'm going to go, which is exactly what happened with Chelsea on Wednesday. I weren't going because I had to be up early for work the next day, and then I got FOMO, and then I got offered a free ticket, and then I was there. Don't know why I do it to myself, but
it could be worse. So we're still in lockdown. We can't go out. The pubs close at 8 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah. So it could be worse. Now, it'd be one of those days where I'd go. Where it's like, is it on past 8? Yeah. Can I drink? It's ridiculous here. It's not ridiculous. It's public health and blah blah blah. And Ireland are doing rather well on the COVID, apart from schools, but I think that's everywhere. But it's one of those ones where it's like 3:30 Saturday afternoon. I'm not going to that shite. 5:30, you're checking train times.
Just on transfers, Adama edges closer allegedly, according to some. Bruno Lage said today in his press conference they've received no bid and he expects Adama to be there at the end of the window. I think that's fairly expected, isn't it, John? He's not going to say anything different to that. He's not going to go, he's off.
No, it's all posturing and part of the movement. As I said earlier, I think when you might have gone off with Bergwijn, Conte's mentioned, he's training and he's going to potentially be in the squad, possibly. They're going to move. I think that's the ultimate thing. They are going to move. They both will move in this month.
Bergwijn out, Florian,
whether it takes to the 31st or not, it'd be great if it could be a bit earlier. But it's just about the negotiation. I think David Neres is going to Shakhtar, isn't he? Or
Gone. 12 million.
Yeah, so Ajax need to sign Bergwijn. That's the thing. So in a way, we're in a better position because they need to sign him.
Can we get the 28 million back we paid for him, please? Then
we're not going to. We will get a sell-on fee, I think, or add-ons, but we won't get that up front.
We'll see. And then Dillian Markanday. So. This is a strange. I mean, this has caused outrage. I put a tweet out there earlier today about this. I think it's caused a bit of faux outrage. Shan, have you seen the reports of this, and what's your view?
think this is one you can't blame Levy for, because we like to be balanced here on the Cheese Room.
Not least the fact that he has nothing to do with transfers these days, eh?
Well, there is that, yeah. But you can't blame the club for this one. If we've offered him a contract and he wants to play first team football and he's going, take the money now while you can. I'm sure we'll put a big fat sell-on clause in there or a buyback clause, and then if the kid works out, then he comes back. If you don't, then sell him on and we get some money back for him. So.
Yeah. The strange thing with Dillian Markanday is, so he's only really come to prominence this year. And he's been with us for many, many seasons. So he scored some good goals, including one that John tweeted out the other night. If you haven't already, follow John on Twitter and you can see that for yourself. But in general, he's done nothing in his Spurs career until now.
Dan Scarlett has more senior appearances than Markanday does. So
that
shows that the club probably have more faith in what Scarlett can achieve than Markanday. And although he looks great in the under-23s, that doesn't mean you're always going to make it in the Premier League, and that's just how it is. So,
which is true, and a lot of people are sort of crying outrage at this, despite never having watched him play for 90 minutes, which I always find amusing. But ultimately, hopefully, we get a sell-on clause. But what I really want to know is, John, is this your fault? Because the second you tweeted out what a great goal, get him in the first team, he's gone.
Well, obviously, it's my fault. Yeah. I mean, I've got his stats up here, and the last two seasons, in 1920, he played 17 games for the under-23s and scored 3 goals. Last season, 20 games, 3 goals. This season, 14 and 12 goals. So, like you're right, it's this season he's come to prominence. He played 10 minutes in one of the Conference League games, didn't really get a chance. You would have expected to see him on the bench on Sunday if he was anywhere near the first team squad, but the youngster, I've forgotten his name now. Scarlett was on the bench and came on the pitch, even though he's 2 or 3 years younger than Markanday. So I think the writing's on the wall. If you include Mason, that's Poch, Jose, Mason, Nuno, and Conte. Obviously, haven't rated him, so he's probably not going to get in the team. So I can sort of understand if Blackburn are making an offer to him. They're losing Ben Brereton Diaz, so he's probably got a good chance of getting some football. It's a shame they probably have offered him a contract and said, we'll loan you out. But, Blackburn are probably in his agent's ear saying, this is the deal.
Yeah.
You'll get 20 games potentially. So I can understand why he'd go.
The thing with Markanday as well is he is playing in a different role this season. So he's playing further forward. Obviously, with Scarlett being with the first team, he's had an opportunity to play up front, whereas before he was playing on the wing. So he's obviously being played in a different position, and it's worked for him. But yeah, just because he's doing it in the under-23s don't mean he's going to do it in the Prem, and it's a very different level coming up, and that's obviously why some of the youngsters struggles. He definitely needed a loan or two before he was going to be in the fold for Spurs anyway, but if he's not willing to do that, then ultimately we have to let him go.
It reminds me a bit of Eddie Nketiah when we sent him out to Leeds last year, and we were all like, yeah, here we go, he's going to be banging him in for Leeds now, no bother, and couldn't get ahead of Patrick Bamford. And then it hits you in the head. If you can't, Bamford's a good player. He's a damn good striker. But you're like, if he can't get ahead of him, he's not going to get in the Arsenal team. So again, he's got a skill set. He'll score goals. He'll go somewhere. But that's not a high bar. But but what you want to happen is what happened with Arsenal with Joe Willock, where we're not sure where we can play him. He's not really an 8. He's not really a 10. Newcastle go, can we have a look at him? And we're like, yeah, sure. Just don't break him. Scores 8 goals in 10 games, and we get 25 million of the Queen's finest, and now he can't even get in the squad. That's what you want. You want him to play really good for someone else and then sell him. Whereas unfortunately, it looks like he's going to play really good for someone else and stay there for another 3 years because he's out of contract. It's the timing of it. It's like this decision should be made last year, where it's like, but as Sean said, there's 5 managers now. there's no real place for long-term development and long-term viewing or ascertaining of a player when you've got so many different people making the decision again and again and again.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Look, we'll be going for 2 hours and 4 minutes, which is pretty immense. I just want to take this opportunity to thank you all. If you're watching for the first time tonight, please hit the subscribe button and set the notifications on. Please do like the show. That's really important too. Check out our other products. We've got Patreon, which the details are in the scrolling ticker. Scroll along. Sign up for that, £3 a month, and you get great content. And to interact with Shan every day and John every day. What more could one want in life? And of course, our podcast, which is out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all good podcast providers twice a week. The new episode is up now, so do check that out. John, once again from the South Coast, I still can't believe how young you look. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me. It's very weird with you down in the bottom right. It's very odd, but yeah.
I know. I feel bad about it too, so let's just do that.
Oh, there we go.
Is that better? Is that all right?
Yeah, that's much better.
Because
Shan, I'll see you Monday.
Shan, thanks for dialing in. I'm sorry I had webcam problems. It's to do with the really expensive camera I've got is faulty. So, overheating, I believe. I think it's too warm in my man cave tonight. So, there you go. But thanks for joining.
You're welcome. The Palace Brighton game had all but finished, and John had texted me to say jump on.
There you go.
And I couldn't resist venting some of my frustrations.
It's a bit like when you come to the stadium, isn't it? You just can't resist.
I should actually do a reaction show after I've been at the stadium
during.
I should have filmed you on Sunday, shouldn't I? Yeah.
To be fair, my face, I can't even explain to you my reaction to Ndombele. Words came out that I cannot repeat because this is a family show. And my face throughout the whole thing, from 15 minutes in, my screw face was coming and caller was like, Shan, don't stress, it'll be fine. And then they scored, and I was like, and then it was getting into the 70th minute, and I was like, and then Harry Winks scored a free kick, and all was good in the world.
Let's move on from that.
Stephen, and then we just laughed at you.
Look at this, Stephen. Look at this. Why can't more Arsenal fans be like Stephen? Steve seems too nice to be a gooner, top man. So there you go. What a reception!
I try my best.
Back. Thanks for
thanks for having me, folks. As always, it's great to be asked on. Like I said, anytime you can talk to reasonable football fans about reasonable things and hate each other at the same time, best way to do it. It's not hard. You just say what you want to say and you have a pint at the end of it. We hate each other's sports team, but it's sports hate. We don't hate each other.
Exactly. And we decided that Sonny was better than Pires, which was good. Look, shout out to this man. I've not put his photo up yet. So, Steve, if you're still watching after 2 hours, shout out to you, sir. And until next time, come on, you Spurs. Steve, stay quiet.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.